Welcome to the Smash Jump Podcast, your place for honest and passionate gaming conversations. The way we talk about video games on a daily basis has changed. Social media has taken over as the predominant way most players talk about games casually with their friends. But is that a bad thing? Has social media changed the way we talk about games for the worse? Or does having a community that you have access to of players with different opinions at all times good for conversation? Today, we at Smash Jump will be discussing all that and so much more. I'm Ashton Lavelle, your host and Smash Jump contributor, and with me are a few awesome people.
I'm Nicole. I'm a contributor at Smash Jump.
I'm Adrian. I'm the managing editor.
And I'm Sam. I'm the video production manager and a contributor at Smash Jump.
Now, before we get started, we've all been playing a lot of different stuff. Last week we had Nicole and Sam talked a little bit about Split Fiction. Is that right? We talked a little bit about that last week.
We've both rolled credits now, have we?
Yeah. So I want to go ahead and start with you two. How was that full experience now that you guys have fully finished that game? And have you guys been playing anything else? We can go ahead and start with Nicole.
Yeah, Split Fiction was really good. I saw a lot of people being like, oh, I wasn't convinced about the friendship and like kind of the story of how they were kind of being friends. But to be honest, I make fast friends, like Zoe. So I was like, oh yeah, a lot of times she reminded me of me. It was quite disturbing. I thought that the level design was fantastic. I mean, it's like you're not getting like Christopher Nolan level storytelling in these games, but it's just like you're playing a 15-hour roller coaster. It just never really lets up. And that's part of the excitement. I thought it was a great time. I had a lot of laughs, found some really cool Easter eggs. And I saw that thing about the people who managed to find the secret level and are now getting a free trip to the Hazelight Studios to see their next game in early access. I'm very jealous of those people. But yeah, I thought the overall experience was really good. I had a great time. I think that it's the best they've made so far. Like they just keep getting better and better. So yeah. Sam, you got anything to say about that?
Yeah, I think my PC's just like almost crashed on me there. I don't know if you guys can still see me, but yeah.
Yes.
I was basically just trying to get the review that I wrote for it. Because I don't know if you can still see me, but it's literally just
Yeah.
We're good.
Right.
We're good.
I'm gonna start closing some stuff down whilst I'm talking. But basically, I liked Split Fiction. I thought it's pretty good, pretty good. I definitely do think that it's their best work by a mile. I'm a big fan of all of the games. If I had to rank them, I'd probably go It Takes Two, A Way Out, and then Split Fiction.
Whoa.
But Split Fiction
What
for
about
me,
Brothers?
I think is not a fan. Not a
Okay.
fan.
Fair.
Not a fan. Tried it, didn't like it,
I
gave
love
it
it.
away. Yeah.
Whoa.
But basically, Split Fiction's all right. Yeah, I like it. It was pretty good. I think it's the best gameplay they've got. It's the best story that they've got. I did think the plot was a little bit predictable, where it's like, oh, there's two
Yeah.
people that are trapped in this thing, and they have to work together to escape, and then they become the best of friends. And I'm like, swear I've seen this before somewhere. But the thing
Yeah.
is, like I mentioned in the written review, available on smashjump.com, gotta get the plugs in. What I basically said about the story was that even though that it was predictable, it was made up for with the two main leads. I don't know who's saying they didn't get the friendship. I got the friendship. I understood
A
it.
couple of
When you
reviewers I saw said it.
whatever. Um, sure, whatever. But yeah, no, I thought it was probably pretty good. It was pretty good. I still prefer a Way Out story. I just find that
Oh,
whole
the
like
story I think in A Way Out is the best of all the games
yes,
they've done.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely, absolutely. But as a whole package, I do believe that Split Fiction is the best that they've made. And yes, I'm really jealous about those two people that are now flying to Sweden to go see the next game. I'm like,
Sam, we should have played it together and then like
we should have
realized
done.
about that binary code. That's what's wrong. We fudged up.
Should have paid more attention in math class, honestly.
Oh dear, oh
Do
dear.
we actually know anything about the next game? Did they say anything?
Not
It's
that I
in
know.
development.
Yeah,
Nothing at all.
that's it.
It
No.
exists, and that's about
Joseph
it.
Fares is just being like, it's bigger and better than the last one, and this man is like
Oh,
the
he's
biggest
like that,
hype
yeah.
man. I love him so much. So
Always bigger, always better.
yeah,
Always
Yeah, of
bigger, always
course.
better. All right. That's awesome. I'm super excited to get to it. I still haven't really gotten back to A Way Out yet. It's just been kind of busy for us to be able to go back to it, but we do plan on going back and playing some more of those Joseph Fares games. Sam, you are a blasphemer for being anti Brothers of Tale of Two Sons. That shit was awesome. I played that earlier this year and I actually loved it.
I
But
love it. Yeah,
different
I
tastes,
replayed
different
it.
tastes.
It's funny about that. It's funny because I edited Sam's review. Maybe you can say, Sam, for our viewers, what sort of score you gave it for
9.
Split Fiction.
9 out of 10.
9.
Yeah, so
Pretty-
it's
pretty
funny
good.
because,
Go on,
sorry,
Adrian.
towards the end of the review, Sam was basically saying, "Oh, there are 3 great games by Hazelight already." You know, they have. I was like, wait a second, this.
Because and I
What
did
about
research on this.
Brothers? What
Brothers
about
was not
Brothers?
made by Hazelight. That was made via another studio that Ferris worked
Oh,
with. And then after the
Yeah.
success of Brothers, that's when Hazelight was formed.
I
So I did
see.
research because I was going to include it, but then I'm like, I got to stick to the history.
Yeah,
Gotta
you
We
stick
got
call
it.
that we call that comment bait because everybody's gonna be like, actually, Joseph Ferris made this game, and then you're gonna be like, actually,
Just
gotcha.
like, nuh-uh.
That's a
No.
gotcha.
I look at Wikipedia.
Oh no.
Actually. Oh man.
I was just
Well,
gonna
I've
say
been a
as
little.
well.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say one last thing as well, just in the back of like the score and everything. It's very hard for me to like rate 10 out of 10 games because they have to be completely flawless. Like there's no
Yeah.
flaws whatsoever. And as much as I wanted to give it a 10, there were a few things where I was like, and as soon as I feel like that, I'm like, right, well, that's bumped it down quite
Well,
a
I
bit.
want to say something now because like I'm annoyed at one thing, just really stupid about that. So I found the porta potties on the roof of that big that big skyscraper.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And right. So my dumb ass was like, "Hey, get in," to my friend because I realized I could throw it. So I threw it and killed him, obviously, or tried to anyway, and then he ended up landing, which has annoyed me. But I'd never, because I was so focused on the toilets, because I'm an IBS girly, that I didn't turn around and see that there was a damn side mission there for the fantasy world. I'm still mad about it.
Oh,
So,
you have to, right,
yeah.
I see. And then
Gotta
you
go
and then
back
you
now.
probably have to go back, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Mm.
but good times.
Anyways, Ashton, you
You're-
were saying.
Your bowels got in the way there.
Of course, yeah. Thinking too much about it.
I was a little busy with my game playing recently. I'm gonna go ahead and give what I've been playing recently, and then throw it to Adrian because Adrian's got a big one that we'll have to talk about for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
So
Can't wait. Yeah.
I've been playing a lot of stuff. I have picked up Life is Strange for the first time. I've never played those games before. I am there's like 5 episodes, right? I'm 4 in, I think. I'm like 3.5. I'm still in episode 4, I think. And having a pretty good time. I felt we'll say like I'm intrigued. I am starting to come to like a lot of the characters, and they do a really good job of like reflecting what it was like how teenagers talk. I feel like they're very teenagery in like the same awkward kind of way, as well as like some of the drama and like stress that a lot of teenagers, especially young women, face. That I've been talking with my partner about that. So it has some pretty heavy shit in there. So if player discretion is advised, but we've been trying to make the right decisions to progress the story the best way we can, but we'll see how it all wraps up. I finished Dragon Age
Yeah.
2, so that's
Mm.
done.
Oh.
That's done. I went through the whole thing, 50 something hours. It's done, but that's why I'm playing Life is Strange now, because I'm definitely going to need a break before going into Inquisition, because God knows how that's going to go. We'll see. We'll see. And then I finished Final Fantasy 1 again for
Damn, you're
whatever,
on a
because I had to
You're on a
roller coaster
roll.
here. Yeah.
I had to get the
Yeah.
footage. I had to get the footage.
Ashton, what do you think of Dragon Age 2?
I like Dragon Age 2. It's like a good 7. It's like solid game. It's not as good as Origins by any stretch of the imagination. It's got a lot of problems like levels repeating and stuff like that, like the same map being used over and over and over and over and over. But I think the core of characters is really good. And I've always said that the only thing BioWare needs to do is make really, really good characters and a good story, and all of their other flaws can be brushed over. And Dragon Age 2 has that. It's part of the reason why Mass Effect Andromeda is as bad as it is, because it doesn't have that, and so it can't get a pass for the rest of it. So I think it has the heart of a BioWare game, and that's what's most important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about
But
Life is Strange?
Yeah.
I mean,
Is it
I'm liking
okay?
it. I need to see the full thing, right? I need to see
Okay.
everything come together, because for these kinds of games, what I'm looking most for is emotional attachment. And I'm like not quite there yet. I'm almost there, but I need to see some kind of scene or moment or something that really hits me at my heart for it to like all come together. And I've gotten close here and there, but I'm waiting for that one big gut punch moment that's gonna like, make it a super memorable experience for me. So still got an episode or and a half to go.
So just one question on the back of that. Do you like Chloe Price?
She's okay. She's okay. I see where she's coming from. I see her personality and like her life path. And I
Hmm.
can see how your actions are changing how she is, which I think is the big thing about that game. Is it feels like initially I did not really like her, which I kind of think is the point. I don't feel like I'm supposed to like her because she's very moody. She's very, goth punk. She does a lot of bad stuff. She wants to steal stuff, like all that kind of stuff. But you start making decisions like don't take the money from the handicap fund and don't shoot this guy just because he was like kind of mean and like all that kind of stuff. And she starts to, she's starting to see that her selfish decisions aren't good and you're kind of changing her for the better. But we'll see how that all wraps up. Still got an episode and a half to go.
So here's the thing, right? Because I played the first Life is Strange, and then I also played the prequel as well, which specifically focused on her. And I think the prequel is just awful in every way. I think that's just a waste of time. The first game, she ruined it for me. I cannot stand her whatsoever. I think she is one of the worst, most annoying written characters ever in a video game. I can't stand her. Every single action that you do, she's always there chipping in, and she's like, "Oh, thanks a lot, Max. You fucked it up again." And you're like, "Well, no, actually, I had to answer this call to a suicidal girl who's on the verge of jumping off of a rooftop, and you're
Yeah.
there being pissed off with me just because I wouldn't give you the attention, I don't know, a dog or a baby or a child or something like that." It's just there's just some parts of it where she just completely ruined it for me. And the only part that I actually liked her was beginning of the third episode, I think it is, where I mean, I guess spoilers for Life is Strange. She's in a wheelchair, um, and she's actually a tolerable person in the wheelchair. And then you go back and you're like, no, she's back again. It's the same character, and you're like, no, why? Do you know how it ends, by the way?
Of course not. I no
Yeah,
spoilers here
I
because I'm still
do, and I
finishing.
don't. The
I'm not
ending
going to mention
makes me
anything.
mad.
Not
Yeah.
going to mention anything at all about the
Mm,
ending. Oh,
yeah.
there's the other thing as well. A Way Out. Do you know what happens in A Way Out at the end?
Playing it too.
Let's not spoil that. Good ending
Ooh,
there. That ending really
I'm
made me
working on it.
amazing
I'm working on it.
ending.
I'm working on it.
Before we ask Adrian what he's been playing, because I'm sure that's our segue into the segment,
It
I just
will
want to
be.
say that I did play Wonder Stop. I haven't finished it, but I'm partway through it. And I just wanted to plug Ben's review. Ben gave it a 7 on Smash Jump, which I think was actually quite generous. I don't hate the game, but I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty mid. Like I think if I was reviewing it, I might have given it like dropped it to a 6 maybe. I think Ben maybe had a better time with it than I did.
A good old
It
IGN 6 mid.
it's just it's not great. It's not great. It's okay, but I look forward to seeing what the studio does because obviously this is like one of the early things. So hopefully they'll get better and improve over time. But it's not for me.
And that's
I guess.
that's from a studio with like some Stanley Parable people in it, right?
Oh, is it?
Mm.
Oh, nice. I guess just one last thing before we go into Adrian as well. I've been
Here we go.
playing Calm of the Dark World, which I'm writing a review for. That's a very confusing game. I don't get it at all. I go from scene to scene and I'm just like, right, I guess I'm here doing something. Okay.
Looking
I
forward to
feel
the review.
I feel like I've missed about 3 hours of a game that should have existed already because it
Yeah.
just kind of like throws you into it and it's like, right, so this is the world. You should know all about this and here's some things for you to read. And I'm like, no, I don't know why I'm going
No.
from one place to another. It's confusing to me. Looks pretty and
Speaking of
music's
going from
nice,
one place to another, right?
and then
Where,
to
where's
another.
where's where's Adrian been the last week?
Yeah, where have you traveled to, Adrian? Tell us about
Oh
your
man, I
game.
traveled to feudal Japan and
There
it
we
was
go.
great. It was great. I mean,
Popped into the TARDIS.
late 1500s. Amazing
Wow,
time. Uh,
What a great time to be alive.
what a great
what
time.
a
Yeah.
time!
Yeah, a lot of assassins going around then.
Everybody's getting
But
scurvy.
Everyone's got swords and everything.
but I'll go straight into it. Look, controversies aside, I really, really enjoyed it. I gave it a 9 out of 10. You know, the review is there. You can,
Cole's face.
it's on Smash Jump. We'll probably put it in the description here. I know there's been a lot of pressure from sort of a lot of fans in the community on Ubisoft riding with this game, and that's especially difficult to please. But man, I had such a great time with it. I give it 9 out of 10. It does some really great stuff. So just kind of the obvious one is the exceptional presentation, and I'm not kidding, it's probably one of the best looking games out there. You know, there's already a lot of sort of videos out there on the technology behind it, which is impressive. I think for me, it hit me harder because I actually lived in that Kansai region in Japan. So I actually managed to visit a lot of these landmarks that you actually get to explore. And they did such an amazing job at, you know, matching sort of the layout of a lot of these temples. Osaka Castle, Kyoto Imperial Palace. I lived close to the Imperial Palace. I often went there, but they also retooled them to make them interesting. As in, for example, they put ledges here and there so you can actually sneak around. So they had this great idea of combining sort of the landmark sort of layout with, you know, making you feel like, okay, you're an actual shinobi going on rooftops and so on. So the presentation is outstanding. Performance, again, I am 40 hours plus right now. I've never seen a major problem so far on Xbox Series X. Okay, I played it in balance mode. There were minor issues, of course, here and there, like foliage performing like strange because of physics, some texture pop in here and there, but nothing major. My game didn't crash. There's no soft locking, nothing like that. I also like the fact that so you play as two protagonists, Naoe, which is the young shinobi girl, and Yasuke, who's the black samurai under Oda Nobunaga. So in a sense, you have two distinct combat styles, which I really liked in a sense. So if you play as Naoe, she's fast, she's more stealthy, she's not as powerful, of course, as Yasuke. So you have to be very careful when you engage like enemies as her. So she's more on the stealth side. Yasuke is basically like a tank, you know, built like a tank. You know, you can't really sneak with him. You can't really climb with him either. So in a sense, you are, and this is also like kind of like one of my problems that I have with the game. Yasuke feels more feels less sort of versatile as a character because of that. And most of my time I actually spend with Naoe. So you can actually seamlessly transition between them depending on the situation. So how you want to approach it. But Naoe is just more fast. She's faster, she's more like engaging to play, I feel like. So that's sort of I would say one of the main problems that I have with it. Another problem that I have is with the pacing of the story. So the story is good. It's not, I don't feel like it matches the Ezio trilogy or the Black Flag or
Nothing
Black.
ever will. This is the
No.
problem that Assassin's Creed has. Yeah.
Yeah, so the story can still be, yeah, more engaging, more interesting. I can't complain about it, but the highlight for me is, yeah, sorry, just to say the bad stuff on it. The
Mhm.
pacing is strange, especially at the beginning, because you're basically you start off really well with this great prologue with both characters. Then Yasuke is basically non-existent for more than 10 hours after that. So you just play
Wow.
as now. So you might actually think, wait a second, well, is Naoe the only, you know, main character in here? I'm just playing her. And then, yeah, the story progresses, Yasuke comes in and so on. But the pacing is off in that sense. What I like, though, about both of these characters, like, they are great, sort of flawed characters. The game treats them very well in terms of character progression and development. So I'm not going to spoil it. I really like Naoya as a character. She goes through a lot of trauma. She deals with revenge thoughts, and the world really kind of like engages with that and says, you know, you're too young to feel these sort of feelings, and that will affect you, and so on. So
Mm.
I really like that. And yeah, I suppose some parts of the world are still stuck in that Ubisoft sort of collectathon type, but not as much,
Yeah, that's one of my
right?
problems is the collectathon. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. Okay.
So there are fetch quests, not as many as before, but what I really like is I like the variety in some of these side quests. So I mean, I'm not gonna spoil it. But for example, one fetch quest that is surprising is you have to get some stuff from the environment, but it ties in with a larger sort of narrative that you slowly uncover as you know, gain access to these
It's
little.
not like the animal thing, like with Connor in Assassin's Creed 3, is it? Where you have to go and like get animal
I
carcasses and
haven't
stuff.
played Assassin's Creed 3, so I don't
It
know.
was like the
Good.
worst, most boring
Good.
thing ever. I
No,
hated it.
so no, so the good thing with the side stuff is they seem to tie in to sort of the world building, which
I
is
mean, they
great.
tied it into Assassin's Creed 3, it just blew.
I
So,
see, but no, I
That
mean,
game just blew, to be fair. The game was
yeah.
Yeah,
awful.
full stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, you still have the fetch quests, but they're more varied in this
Okay.
sense, and it's not bloated. I didn't feel like overwhelmed by it, which is strangely, interestingly, I don't really like Horizon because of that. So I could never get into Horizon because I mean, yeah, the world looked pretty and stuff. I never felt connected like I feel with, for example, now, um, on that sense with the
Yeah.
Alloy, right? Aloy, I don't know
Mm.
how to pronounce it.
Aloy, I think.
Um, but yeah, I know a lot of people draw sort of comparisons with Ghost of Tsushima and so on. And yeah, Ghost of Tsushima, I'd say the combat is better in that one compared to Assassin's Creed Shadows, which still has, for example, some clunky combat animations here and there, so they have that. But I would say the world to me, I prefer the world of Shadows compared to Tsushima. And I know a lot of people will be like, well, he's crazy, he's crazy. But yeah, I
I
think
kind
they're
of think you're
going,
crazy, but we'll
yeah,
see.
well,
Blasphemy.
that's,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, overall, yeah, it's a great one. And I know it's difficult for a lot of other reviewers. I've been talking to some of them to actually, in a sense, come out and admit that you actually liked Shadows, which is funny. And we'll talk about this, of course, throughout.
Yeah. I've got so many things to say.
Yeah.
So, book real quick, I wanted to ask a few questions about Shadows here. So, um, the first thing I wanted to go back to when you talked about the transition between Naoe and Yasuke.
Yeah.
It so the most recent game I can think in my brain that did something like that would be Spider-Man 2, right? Where you could basically seamlessly transition between each in the open world whenever you want. And, because of the, fast loading times, you barely ever felt it. Is it
Sorry,
like
quick
that in
thing.
Assassin's Creed?
Yeah, was the last Assassin's Creed to do that Syndicate? Did it do it seamlessly?
Yeah, you can switch between
Cool.
the
Okay.
two twins.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can.
Yeah.
It's similar to that. You also have situations where you can,
that's
for
why I
example,
thought of when you were talking about it. I was like, yeah, they've already done that in Syndicate
yeah,
already.
Yeah.
they showed that before in footage too. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay,
So it's
perfect,
as
perfect,
seamless as that. Cool. Okay.
perfect. So next thing I wanted to ask about was going back to that Ubisoft problem of collectathon stuff.
Mhm.
I think that's become a hot button issue. I feel like for a lot of people in open worlds nowadays, is just feeling like you got all these quest markers and stuff on the map, and you just
Yeah.
like it's just telling you go here and do a thing if you want to do a thing, and it doesn't really feel like anything. But you said that they all felt, or like a lot of it felt, very meaningful and purposeful. So
Yeah.
I was curious about how the game really does those, because like are there just generic collectibles like how in old Assassin's Creed games you could find like what were they, like birds or like flying songs if you were in
Feathers.
Assassin's Creed 4 and stuff
Yeah.
like that, like are those still in there too?
Yeah, there's some of them. For example, you can also go around and this is fun. You can pet animals and they'll tell you like what sort of
Yes.
animal
Can I pet that
just
dog?
interacted with, and that's
Couldn't you
cool.
pet animals in Assassin's Creed 3?
I don't know.
God,
I'm not
I don't
playing
remember
it.
doing that.
I think you
I don't
could.
remember
Yeah,
doing that.
there was like a local cat that you could pet. I remember that was the first time you could start petting animals, and I got very excited.
It's not a
It
dog. I'm
reminded
not
me of Black
interested.
Flag.
And a
Fine
side
with the
note
dog.
with that, and yeah, this didn't make my review because it's kind of a minor thing, but it's very strange in Shadows where you have so many animals being generated around you. So it feels like you're traveling with a zoo often, which
How
Oh
is
do
wow.
strange.
you Adrian, have you
Noah's
seen the
Ark.
clip of someone who just completely just fills up an entire area with those Shibu dogs? Have you seen
No,
that?
no.
There's like this grassy area that someone's put on Twitter, and you just basically put like a dog in every single square. You go back into a game, it's just flooded with dogs.
I
I'm
think this
like,
is the
that's
hideout
great. I
area,
love it.
right?
I
That's the
think
one
it,
you
yeah,
can
yeah, yeah,
customize, yeah.
yeah. It's your base that you can do. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, to come back to Ashton, I think you're saying, yeah, there's more meaningful side quests which I really liked. For example, the one that I talked to you about starts harmlessly. You think, oh, this is another collectathon. You basically have to get origami sort of birds or something,
Is it
origami.
for a dead family member? Like on
No,
behalf of them? Oh, good. New.
no, but
Progression.
I'm not gonna spoil. But
Oh, I
that
feel like it
ties in.
is.
But no, that ties in with something else that's bigger. So that's what I'm trying to say is most of them, they're not just like, yeah, I'm gonna collect this for the sake of collecting. It ties in with something else. The other thing that tied in with Ashton, what he was asking, there's different sort of groups. So side quests can also be interpreted as different groups. So if you do a group within, a side quest within a specific group, for example, let's say you have, now it has this, any Aska, they have opportunities to do small side quests where you can relieve sort of their backgrounds, right? So you can kind of interact with people from like flashbacks and so on. So you're basically transported back in time as well. So that's part of one side quest. You learn more about them. You learn about the setting they've been as well. You can also get allies that will actually help you during the gameplay by attacking enemies and so on. So that's another optional thing that you can do. Yeah, this it feels more like they've learned. So this is what I said in my review. It feels like, you know, there's lessons learned from Ubisoft with this. Fans wanted Japan, they gave us Japan. They wanted more challenging combat, they gave us, you know, crowd control and stuff like that with the combat. So yeah, there's a few
So,
improvements.
last thing I want to say, also before we forget, we should say for transparency's sake, review code provided by Ubisoft for
Yeah,
Yeah,
Xbox,
that's the
right?
thing.
yeah.
Yep.
Thank you,
Go ahead.
Ubisoft.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Ubisoft.
Ubisoft.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks, Ubisoft. No beef, no
despite
beef.
despite Nicole's trashing, you know.
No, I will say, right, I actually play almost every single Ubisoft game that they release. I do.
Guys, bring up your library right now.
I will.
Prove
I'll
it.
pull up my achievements right now. I don't hate their games. I just got beef, you know? Like hold on,
Yeah.
hold on. Now I'm just like I just want to prove it now. Where is it? How far back do I have to scroll? Hey, there's Star Wars Outlaws, 23 achievements. You know, there we go. I made it far. Let's go. How many hours? How many hours? How many hours? 2 days and 10 hours in that game. I want that
Wow.
noted. Spent 2
That
days.
means that after Adrian's glowing review, you're going to be playing Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yeah,
soon, huh?
absolutely, Nicole. I want to see your progress for that.
I have it installing. I am gonna do it. I
You
also
did
played.
good.
You know what? I also played Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, and that was quite mid. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown
That was a good one.
slapped.
That was a good one.
Slapped. I don't know who at Ubisoft was like, this didn't make enough money. It's fantastic. It's so well done. I know they gave it to us as like some middling thing to be like, hey, eat this for now. We'll give you the
Yeah.
real Prince of Persia later. But you know what? I'm okay. Feed me. That was good. I enjoyed it. Like occasionally they'll do a banger and then they'll go, there's somebody up top is like, not enough money, and then just bin it. That's my problem. So
Speaking
all
of
the
Prince
fans
of
are like,
Persia,
please,
there
sir,
it's
may I
got a
have
very
another?
it's got a very supernatural element to Prince of Persia, right? Like it's kind of got some like, you know, time
Yeah.
stuff going on all the time.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed also is known for having a lot of supernatural stuff, and so without this any spoilers, like maybe like a simple like quick yes or no,
Got beef.
Assassin's Creed has always had like, you know, the Apple of Eden and all this other stuff going on. And then, you know, and I know that in Odyssey and Origins, you can find like, you know, boss fights or something with like Greek and Egyptian gods and stuff, like
Yeah.
super cool stuff like that. Quick yes or no, so there's no spoilers for people who haven't played it yet. Are there elements like that in Shadows, or is that kind of pushed to the side a little?
So I want to say, just so that everyone knows, I haven't finished the main story yet, but in my 40 hours of exploring and stuff like that, I can say no so far.
Interesting.
But
Okay. Okay.
That's a good
but
answer.
just one thing. The Templars Assassins conflict is brought in to light
Good.
to some extent. So that's all I'm gonna say. There might be, but maybe I didn't get to that point yet, basically.
Can I touch on my light beef really quickly, or like
Yeah.
it's so just that, so with the magic stuff, the Apple of Eden and all that stuff, and like finding out the history and using the animus and everything. One thing that's always really irked me recently is the fact that they're not doing like a canonized story. I mean, they have a canonized story, but you have the option now or something. Is it that you can play a non-canonized version, so you can have a bit more of like a role-playing kind of feel to it? Is that true?
I don't think I follow your question. So in a sense, you have the two protagonists and you can't play anyone else. But
No,
both
no. So what I mean is simply that. So back in the day, it used to be you
yeah.
had to follow the
Yeah.
story to a T. And apparently
Oh,
nowadays
I
you
see
can
what you
kind of just do a bit of whatever the hell you
yes.
want to a
Yeah.
degree, and there's like an
Yeah.
option for that.
I mean, you still get sort of options that you can choose
Mm.
from. And yes, you can follow canon. And actually, one of the great things that Shadows has, it's an impressive amount of accessibility features,
Oh, I love that.
including a
Okay.
canon mode that basically says, you know what, you're gonna follow the exact canon. You know, you don't have to pick other options and stuff like that. But I prefer to do my own one. What I would say is what I've seen so far in terms of choosing options,
Mm.
there are some differences, but it's one of those things. It's not gonna like
Very minimal.
substantially change the story. I'll give you an example. For one of my favorite quests that I've had towards the beginning was a tea ceremony thing, and I
Oh,
mentioned this in the review
yeah.
because it doesn't play out like a normal like, oh, infiltrate here, kill this and stuff, something like that. That one is a lot about what you learn about the tea ceremony, how you engage with the other guests, and that's where you can get to pick stuff. And depending on what you pick,
Yeah.
that will give you something else. But ultimately, you still have to follow a path, kind of like, if
Yeah.
that makes
I
sense.
feel like Ubisoft added that stuff in because following, that's one thing I actually struggled with Assassin's Creed, which is that you had to follow things to like a T, and then they
Yeah.
had the 100% synchronization that they added into
Mm.
like Brotherhood, which I despise. You know, like let me assassinate people the way I want to assassinate them, and
Yeah.
Oh, I
so
remember.
like
Okay.
yeah, that's always irritated
Oh,
me.
well, I can tell you this. The good thing about this is in terms of assassination attempts
Hmm.
and stuff like that, they do actually, even within those different settings, they give you more options on how you want to
They
approach. For
encourage
example,
creativity.
yes,
Huzzah!
they actually change it up a bit. They
It was
do.
always really just like not very nice when you were playing Brotherhood or whatever,
Yeah.
and then suddenly it would be like, oh yeah, you fudged it, and it would be like you failed, and it would show you failed the task, and I'm like, I'm not failing anything, I'm
Well, I'll
succeeding.
give you an example, which I thought
Okay,
was really cool from this game. So I have to assassinate an important person here, right?
yeah,
They're based in Osaka Castle, right? I can approach it how I want it. If I want to just assassinate that person, I can sneak around, just kill that person, go out. The game will acknowledge that, you know. So yeah, it gives you ideas on, sorry, opportunities on how you can do this and that. Like you can throw literally one funny thing that happened with my one is because okay, now is much more versatile in how you can approach it and you can throw something like a kunai, so like a really sharp object, you know, at their heads, and that will kind of like, you know, throw a few of those, they're dead from afar, you
a
know.
few.
Yeah, well, a few because they have armor.
Just
Some enemies have
I
oh,
just
armor.
imagine
that's
you being like,
weird.
what the hell is this? And then just keep coming.
Must
That's
have been
quite
the
good.
wind.
You know, it's they're strong-headed, so you know.
Yeah,
Hard
very
headed right there.
stubborn. Oh dear.
But yeah,
No,
I
okay,
just
interesting.
also want to say the open world, in terms of NPC interactions, they tried a bit more in terms of maybe you remember Red Dead Redemption 2's sort of like here
I
and
love
there
it.
might be scripted mini events, right? That
Yeah,
you find here and there.
I
Makes
was
the
thinking
world
about all
feel
the good
more
ones.
alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, to feel more alive. So I really appreciated that. But at the same time, for the rest of the NPCs, it doesn't feel like you can really engage still with them the
I will
topics that they like.
never get over that first moment that some guy was on the side of the road with his horse, and then his horse kicked him in the head, and he was fully dead.
Yes.
And then I was
Fully
like,
dead.
well, I mean, the dead don't need money, to quote the
Yeah.
Hound from Game of Thrones. So I was like, I'm gonna take his money. And then I got the bloody, police after me, the Red Dead police. I was like, what's going on? This guy was dead. I just happened to take his change. Like, what do you want
Yeah.
from me?
You don't
That
understand
kind of
it was the
stuff.
horse, officer. The horse did it.
Yeah.
The horse did it.
So you're not gonna have unscripted events like that
Right.
that much, unfortunately, in here.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Gotcha. Well, sounds like there's a lot to talk about, AC. I feel like we could talk about it even more, but we're gonna save some of that because you guys need to go read Adrian's review over on SmashJump.com. Go check that out. But Assassin's Creed Shadows is one of many games that has had a bit of a reputation put upon it before it even came out. And we're seeing that sort of more and more nowadays as social media kind of just continues to be a presence and power in, the way we talk about games. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this episode talking about that a bit and how we're kind of feeling about it in this social media environment right now, how we feel about certain games that get sort of targeted by social media as like the new scapegoat to talk about, whether that be for good or for ill. And a lot of it being, especially with games that haven't even fully come out yet. And then, that all comes with like critics and versus fans thing that has been going on for a long time at this point. So I kind of want to get into that a little bit. And we'll go ahead and start with the AC Shadows thing because obviously it had a lot going on before it came out, from historical stuff that was being changed around or mistaken here and there, to the whole Yasuke thing, to all sorts of different stuff. And just being, I feel like Assassin's Creed is an easy scapegoat for people to pick on because Assassin's Creed has been kind of in like this, like it used to be on the top of the world, but it's kind of fallen down a little bit since its glory days on the PS3 and Xbox 360. So with that, it felt like before it came out, Assassin's Creed Shadows was already kind of setting itself up to fail. And obviously, we have not seen the end result with sales numbers because based on reviews, Adrian's review is glowing. The Open Critic Metacritic score is pretty decent for an Assassin's Creed game. So
I think it's had
critically,
like 2 million active players as well.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
and
really
so
good.
it
Yeah.
seems like
Already.
it's doing well so far in terms of like its sales and stuff. And I think honestly, just putting an Assassin's Creed in Japan, like people have been asking for
Yeah, finally.
years, is a lot to do with that. But
Yeah.
we'll have to see if it also has legs, and that's kind of the concern here. It almost felt like Assassin's Creed Shadows started getting this reputation as a bad game before it even came out and people got their hands on it. And so I want to throw it to you guys and have you guys talk about sort of your own experience going on social media, or even if you're not on social media very much, just being around it. Like these
I
things
saw
have a way
some
of leaking
crap
into your
today.
information,
Yeah.
So Nicole, what have you been seeing, and how do you feel about how
I'm
conversations with games start nowadays?
I'm pretty mad. So well, I'm gonna just immediately touch on this and then like put this hate to bed because I don't want to focus on the hate too much, this specific thing. But like the anti-woke drama around this is really pissing me off. There's no need for it, right? So it happened with Dragon Age Veilguard, it happened with Starfield, and it keeps bloody happening. People bitch and whine about pronouns, and like they'll be extremely homophobic. I saw so many slurs on a tweet earlier about Assassin's Creed Shadows that I am not going to repeat, and no one go look for them. Let's not give them the time of day. Yeah, it's been really bad. I found out, I saw a spoiler. So spoiler warning there, that if you choose to, and it's a choice, but people on Twitter are acting like it's not a choice and that people are forcing an agenda. I hate that term. There's a relationship that you can get in as not the girl, the guy, and you can have a gay kind of romance with someone. I'm not sure how like explicit it is. I'm not sure like how deep it goes, or if it's just like there's vibes, but like it doesn't matter. people are being assholes about it, and I'm just like, can you fucking chill? It's a game, and people are choosing to kind of have the role playing element to it and go down that path, and it's like it's nothing new. Gaming's been doing this for years. Someone responded underneath being like, so would you call Mass Effect woke? And I was like, yeah, shut up. You know, I thought it was a great response from that person. So yeah, I've been seeing so much negativity around that, and like Ubisoft pushing a woke agenda, and it's like, no, it's just including people and letting people have the choice to go down a path that suits them and themselves and their play style. So, which is why I asked Adrian as well about the like, can you have that kind of role playing kind of mechanic a little bit where you can make a few
Yeah.
decisions that aren't in line with the canon? And I think that if you want a canon event, and you know you're going to whine about about woke stuff, you're going to be anti woke about it, then well, don't play the game, but go follow the historically accurate version. But if you want to have some fun and go try out other things, then follow the other path. No one's making you do anything. Shut up and stop bitching.
Okay, that's
I saw
out.
that.
You feel better now?
Yeah, I'm defending
Thank you.
Ubisoft here. Ubisoft, good for you. Fuck these people. So
Give us more
that's
review codes.
Give us more review
I don't
codes.
hate Ubisoft. I just beef with the fact that their games feel really repetitive. I think that
Yeah.
Shadows and Odyssey kind of doing what they've done has been quite interesting, and it's it is a little bit different, but it feels very similar still. But yeah, that's like a lot of the controversy I've seen. I know there's some other stuff, so I'll let you guys kind of touch on that. But that
I'll
was
be honest, like just to follow on that, I have Japanese friends. I actually spoke to them recently and I asked them about, so what do you think about the Yasuke controversy? And their first reaction is like, who's Yasuke? Like they don't really know. I mean, in not that this Yasuke didn't exist, because we have historical proof that he did exist. Whether he was a samurai or retainer or something else, that's still we don't know because we don't have enough information on that. But basically what I'm trying to say, this feels very much a made up controversy in the West rather than Japan.
yeah,
My friends,
It's always in the West.
my Japanese friends, I'll tell you how the Japanese market is. A lot of them, the Japanese market, is basically handheld. Nintendo Switch is king there. They don't even think about Assassin's Creed Shadows, honestly. And that's the feeling that I get from speaking to my friends as well. The other thing that I saw recently, and this was on purposely misinterpreted, when the Japanese Prime Minister was talking, for example, about, it's sacrilegious to, I don't know, climb or do stuff against torii gates or Japanese sort of landmarks. He referred to it as a general thing. Now, I don't know, Western groups, whatever you want to call them, misinterpreted that or on purposely misinterpreted that to say, oh yeah, look, the Japanese prime minister says bad stuff about shadows, disrespected, by the way. And you'd
what?
know that because it's in the press. So it's not only that, but if you actually took the time to play the game, the very first sort of missions they have, the game literally puts it on the big screen. And this is before the whole Japanese prime minister controversy thingy. They literally said, climbing on torii gates or doing something to shrines and stuff like that can be interpreted as, disrespectful, bad thing as well. So Ubisoft already thought of that before
Yeah.
these guys even played the game to see
Yeah.
that that message was there, right? So yeah, there's a lot of outrage that I've seen with this game. I've seen it with live streamers, and this is something I spoke to you guys, where the live streamer was having fun with the game, and the chat basically made them feel bad for liking this game to the point that I'm not gonna name names,
No.
but to the point that this guy was like, I had enough. I'm gonna ban some of you guys. This is my game. I
Yeah.
enjoy it. And if you enjoy it, you will be accused of, you got paid by Ubisoft or something like that, which is,
I will be one of the first people to sit here and call out Ubisoft for their repetitive
Yeah.
stuff, how frustrating it is. But I did enjoy Star Wars Outlaws. Was it amazing? No, but I had a good time. I enjoyed Prince of Persia, and I know I'm going to enjoy Assassin's Creed, even if it's going to be kind of a hate play.
I
I'm
enjoy
gonna...
I enjoy the Far Cry games, even though they're all relatively the same
Yeah,
since 3.
yeah.
And I'll be honest, like Shadows came out at the time of this recording 3 days ago.
Mhm.
Okay. I got the
Really?
review key a week or so before the actual game came out. Now, unless you have some crazy amounts of, I don't know, speedrunning ability to actually in 3 days to actually finish a lot of the game and know what is there. You're not gonna get the full picture of what Shadows is doing, right? So this is my problem that I have. People were quick to judge it even before they got the chance to even play or see what it is about. There's a lot of historical facts that they get right in it, and they actually hired historians. There's a great section of the codex basically that for each, for example, city or landmark that you get that's more important, they would very nicely spell out the history behind it. So there are historians that were involved with this game. I'm not saying that they, it's still a historical fiction, and this is why a lot of people should understand it. The word fiction is still in there, right?
Yeah.
Because that's why they take liberties with that. But a lot of the stuff that you see there, from the temples, the landmarks, even I say this economic history, but I'll give an example. There's a port in the game called Sakai, which is a real place that used to do, for example, dealings with the Portuguese. Now that is truthful, that they've done that, in real life and so on. We've seen that happen, and that is in the game. That's nicely represented in the game. We have Portuguese traders in the game as well too. So that's not woke. That's not, that's something that actually happened, right? So before, I feel like maybe for the people who are quick to be outraged by this, what I would recommend they do is maybe try to go into this with an open mind and, actually try the game and see. I'm not, I don't want you to specifically say, oh, Adrian gave it a 9 out of 10. I must like it or something. No, it doesn't necessarily like that, but I want you to give it a fair shake, a fair deal, because people nowadays are so quick to judge stuff online
Jump
that
on that hate train.
exactly jump on the hate train.
Just going on the back of what you literally just said, I've noticed that with like a bunch of fan bases, there is a lot of quick assumptions. Like there's a franchise that I really like that I'm sure you've heard before, right?
Hello.
I look at the fucking YouTube comments or the Instagram comments on every single Halo post, and it's just full of negativity. Granted, some parts of it are warranted because of how fucked up that franchise is now.
Oh, I'll
But at
be
the same
Halo's first
time,
hater, but it's my baby.
oh, get in line, get in line. I'm the exact same. Like, I'll buy it day one, but I will call it out if it needs to be called out
Yeah.
because the amount of bastardization that's been done to that franchise is just way too much. However, there is a lot of negativity within the Halo fan base where even if like there's a trailer for like a new battle pass that they put out featuring blue team armor from Halo 5, and I went onto the comments on Instagram to look for just one positive comment. I could not find a single one, and that's concerning for me. It's the same thing with other fan bases like Star Wars, for example, that
Oh my
Star Wars
God.
fans are just horrible. Like, look at what they did to Ahmed Best, who played Jar Jar, or Jake Lloyd, who played the young Anakin Skywalker. That shit is
Yep.
horrendous. It's awful. I'm trying to
Yeah,
think what other
recently
kind of
Kelly
fan
Marie
bases.
Tran with
Yeah,
Rogue.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Yeah, and I think largely what the main problem with all this is, especially nowadays, is that everyone can just go onto Facebook or go onto Instagram or Twitter. They can sign up and then they can just spout loads of shit out there to the void, and it will just affect someone one way or the other. If it's directed at that person and they get affected by it, or if it's the supporters of that person, they get affected by it as well. You have every right to disagree with something. You don't have the right to be a massive dick about it. And I
No.
think that's the problem that we're facing right now with social media. Part of the reason why I don't even go on social media anymore. I'll occasionally go onto
Right.
Instagram to flick through all the cancerous reels that I get or get sent to me by my friends. YouTube, I'll use YouTube. That's fine. I hate Twitter. Twitter is
Oh
just
yeah, it's
a
an awful
vapid.
place.
It's awful. It's literally where all the scum go to just fester in the corner, as far as I'm
I go on there
concerned.
to look. Sometimes there's some really nice things on there, like Severance just finished. There's so many nice things being said, and then occasionally I'll get like
You'll
the
get this
most
like one person.
horrific thing, and I'm just like, what
Yeah,
is this? It's
yeah.
just, it makes me so angry. Yeah.
I just stay away from Twitter as much as possible.
Yeah.
Instagram's fine. YouTube's fine. Facebook is. Does Facebook still exist?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no one
Yeah,
uses it.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, good, 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 good. I'm trying to think what else there is as well.
Reddit.
Red.
Instagram.
You know what? Reddit's great. I love Reddit. I
Reddit's
love
a
I love
definitely
Reddit.
Reddit's a
Yeah.
community by community thing.
Yeah,
Where-
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime I have something wrong with me or like something's happened in my life, I'm like, I'm gonna look up this one thing on
Go
Reddit, and
ask
someone
Reddit.
has an answer. Someone has an answer.
It's great just flicking through like, am I the arsehole, and just reading all the
Yeah.
comments and all
There's
the
a subreddit
posts.
for
It's so
everything
good.
too. So it's
You
like
think of
Yeah.
it, it's there, and it's great. And
It's
I'm on
there.
like some of the subreddits for all the stuff that I like Halo, Saints Row,
Yeah.
Uncharted, all the stuff that I like. Halo on the subreddit is very 50-50. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes there's good stuff, sometimes there's bad stuff. Uncharted, it's literally just fan castings and where's Uncharted 5. Saints Row, that's where all the negativity is because, again, that franchise has been bastardized for decades. I think largely, like I said, the main thing is that loads of people have the ability to go onto the internet, type up a few things, not think anything of it, and then just send it without realizing that that can affect either a company, it can affect a person, a group of people, etc. I just think that sometimes people just don't think before they start typing, and I think that's the
Yeah.
main problem that we're facing with it. However, I'll be honest, sometimes companies do need to be called out. 343, Halo Studios, they need to be called out.
Mhm.
Ubisoft needs to be called out. Please, again, give us review codes. EA needs to be
We'll be
called out.
honest. We'll be
Yeah,
honest.
we'll be honest. We'll be honest. Occasionally, we'll give you a 9 out of 10, like with Adrian's Shadows review, but we might call you out. EA needs to be called out. There's different things, like, but at the same time, you'll have people like live streamers, for example, that'll call you out. Or you'll have live streamers or YouTubers that'll just jump on the trend. The woke stuff, or I'm not gonna get into because it's a waste of
It's
time.
such a deep
It's a
and
waste of
terrible
time.
place. Yeah.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't really want to take the podcast for this kind of conversation. If I'm honest to
No.
speak, I think I speak for everyone here when I'm just like, I don't want to get involved with it.
That's why
I
I kept it short and sweet because it's
just don't
just
care.
ugh.
Just don't care all
Yeah.
that much. As long as
Well,
as long as
yeah, and
as long as
that's
nothing's
where
been,
I,
like
I want to
pushed
jump in
onto me.
after Sam.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only last thing I'll say. As long as nothing's actually been like forced onto me, I'm fine with it. I don't care.
Mhm.
That's the only thing I'll say about it. Go ahead, Astrid.
Yeah.
So the thing that the power of anonymity is should not be understated. The fact that you can go online, like Sam said, and just sign up, make a fake username, almost like very, very hard to trace it back to you, especially if it's like a burner account, and then just say whatever the hell you want. And just start fights and wars and stuff in comment section and stuff. That has power because people can hide behind their computer screen, they can hide behind their username, but people don't talk like that in real life, and that's the
No.
big problem. The way people are online and how vitriolic they are with their keyboard is not how people talk about in real life. I would say 95% of people who seem like the most scum of the earth on Twitter or wherever, what have you, if you talk to them in real life, they will not do that to you to your face because either they're too scared to do it, or they don't actually think that way. They're just getting their like knockers off doing that, right? And so that, I think that is the biggest problem. There is anonymity is super strong, and it's really important to remember that most of the people doing that and jumping on those bandwagons are people who feel, I think it comes from a place of perhaps loneliness or needing that sense of belonging, because you can find a community of people who will also trash on a thing, and so you can feel like you're part of a group. That sort of tribalist mindset thing. And again, it's not a way that people actually talk. But one thing that is really difficult about that is that it feels so prevalent. Like you can go on Twitter and you can see a comment section or like a YouTube comment section, like Sam said about like Halo videos and stuff, and you'll just see it all over the comment section. But like most of those people don't care. They're not actually there and playing the game and stuff like that. When I think about when, say, Nicole's discussions with Dragon Age, right? With Veilguard specifically. Like the way Nicole talks about her frustrations with Veilguard are very honest. They come from a place of like passion and love for the franchise and for BioWare, and she wants to see it done correctly. However, there's others who will jump on that bandwagon behind Nicole or will, go off on the deep end who do not care. They don't care about BioWare. They don't care about Dragon Age. They've never played the game. They never will play the game, and they're never going to play the game, right? They just want something to yell at and something to hate. And that's the big problem of, I think when you have valid criticism of something and you come at it with from a place of wanting it to be better, that's obviously like the correct thing to do. That's what we need those conversations for. But then when you come into a conversation like that and you're somebody who never cared about it, who never wanted it to be good in the first place, who never was going to buy it in the first place, then you muck up the rest of it, because then we can't have a back and forth. We can't have a conversation, right? You can't have BioWare or a conversation with 343 or whoever to make the game better, because your comment that may be super thought out, may make a lot of sense, maybe valid criticisms, gets drowned by a sea of just hate, vitriol, name calling,
Angry
all that kind of
noise.
stuff, angry, shouting voices that are so loud they drown you out. And I don't know if there's a solution for that outside of like the social media platforms that fester it the most just slowly going out of fashion. Like we already see, I don't know about you guys, but I haven't used Facebook in like a decade. Like it was super
No.
popular when I was younger, and now it's just basically like a bunch of old people sharing minion memes. Like it's not really a place that I go to interact. Twitter used to be, but then Elon bought it, and it's just become worse and worse and worse as the day goes by. And so I got off that. And so now the only place I really go is Reddit. And even in that scenario, it's like it's really community by community based. Sometimes you'll go into a community and you can have a back and forth with people, and sometimes you can't. It really depends on the community, but at least there you can kind of cater your stuff. There's no algorithm that's forcing you into certain directions. Like you're really kind of curating your own content. And I think that's probably the right way to do it, is being able to have, being able to make your own space rather than having your space made for you and you're forced in it like Twitter does. But it's a tough environment, and we see, I think personally, some games really suffer for it before they come out. I'm thinking right off the top of my head like Concord, right? As soon as PlayStation did their showcase and they did all those live service games and they were pushing that multiplayer stuff, Concord happened to be the first one to come out, right? It happened to be the first one to take those bullets. And it felt like, as much as I also disagreed with the live service push, and clearly PlayStation's backtracking on that quite heavily, as much as I was not interested in Concord and, probably weren't going to play it in the first place, it felt to me like Concord just did not have a chance from the get-go, because people were so angry about PlayStation's decision to try to push live service that the very first game that they released that was going to do that was always going to be the target of the most of that hate. And Concord happened to be the one, and it died. Now, would Concord have survived if that didn't happen? Maybe not, because the game, I didn't play it, but I heard it was good, okay, it wasn't anything that, like, it wasn't no Overwatch, right? It didn't blow the doors open. But would it have died in 2 weeks? I kind of don't think it would have if it wasn't the target of so much hate from the start, and it felt like it ran out the gate getting its legs cut off. Like that's what it felt like to me. And I think that's the unfortunate power that social media has to be able to really just cripple the legs of a game before it even comes out. And I think we're starting to see that more and more, and that kind of disappoints me. What do you guys think?
So just on the back of, sorry, Adrian, go ahead.
Yeah, no, Sam, go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, just on the back of Concord, when I first saw Concord at one of the State of Plays, I thought to myself, oh my God, this looks interesting. Like it's a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of game. Like, maybe it's first person, third person, looks interesting. The thing that instantly just killed any expectations of that was 2 words, live service. And I thought, okay, right. I know where we're going with this. But then I still played the beta and I didn't like it. And I'm like, right, I'm not going to buy that. Everything else that kind of came with that, where it was like the ugly character designs, the use of pronouns and whatever, and the gun, and it just feeling like really barren, that all kind of came like secondary. Whenever I'm playing a game, I think of 2 things. Is it fun? And how does it feel to control?
That's what matters. Yeah.
That is ultimately what matters. Story, music, everything else, art design, that all comes secondary. Is it fun? Are you enjoying yourself? And are the controls easy to understand? It's part of the reason why I like Halo so much is because the old Halo games, you had three things: your melee, your weapon, your grenade. That's it. You don't need to worry about anything else. Now everything's just all over the place. There's so many different inputs and buttons, especially like in Halo 5. I didn't feel like that was particularly fun, but Halo 1, 2, 3, etc., all easy to grasp. That's what I ultimately look for in a game. I don't care about any of the other stuff. Like, yeah, the characters look like shit. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the character designs just look really, really bad. I don't understand what kind of drugs the art department was smoking, but they didn't look great. Does that ruin the game for me? No, it doesn't. But I think that people, like you said as well, Ashton, are quick to jump on the bandwagon. And it kind of reminds me of that Simpsons meme where it's like Grandpa Simpson is doing this towards a cloud. It's like old man yells at cloud. That's kind of like that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of just people like essentially they're your hype people. You've got like so let's say going back to the Nicole example. Nicole's got something to say about shadows. Everyone else behind her is like, yeah, we don't like that either. Yeah, we don't like that. And you're just thinking to yourself, who the fuck are you guys? Like, when
Yeah.
why are you? What are you doing in my house? But that's the thing. Like, it just you get all these other people who you don't know who's jumping on the bandwagon, and without even maybe playing a single Assassin's Creed game or without knowing who Ubisoft is or what even the controversy is, and you've just got people wanting to belong somewhere. One of my favorite like social media quotes is actually from Mike Tyson. I don't know if any of you have heard it, but it just kind of makes me laugh and it is quite true to what we're currently talking about. But Tyson basically says social media made you all way too comfortable with disrespecting people and not getting punched in the face for it.
Oh,
And I
absolutely.
completely
Yeah.
agree with that. I'm
My
like, yep.
boyfriend says that to me all the time. Yeah.
When I read that, I was like, shit, he's got a point. Like
Yeah.
people just say
Yeah.
loads of crap to each other on social media, and you put them in a room with each other, and they will just be like, "Oh, how you doing, mate? You're all right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
will not
yeah,
act
Yeah.
that
good,
way
yeah."
at all.
Oh,
And
they wouldn't.
I
They
want to
wouldn't.
I want to real quick for all everybody else to bounce off. But Sam, you reminded me the thing with our examples with Nicole. I don't know why Nicole's just our scapegoat, but we're
Hello.
just,
Okay.
that.
we're
Jesus
just the
Christ.
scapegoat. But
God.
this is going somewhere. This is going somewhere. When those hype people get behind, let's say you have a comment that's very valid criticism or whatever, and those like hater hype people come behind you who don't actually care, that creates an assumption that other people will then put on you, right? Like if Nicole says, I don't like Veilguard or I didn't like Veilguard as much as I wish, it's very easy for other people to immediately assume and put you in the bucket of everyone else that also just hates it blindly. And that also is a problem with this
I
social
have
media landscape.
valid criticisms of Veilguard. My fear about talking about Veilguard and ever doing a thing where I'm like, Veilguard was kind of mid because of these reasons. I'm scared that the people behind me who are shitty people who I don't like, who don't share my values, are going to come in and start saying the stupidest crap. And I'm just
That's like
like,
the
what are you
thing.
talking
Yeah.
about?
It's like,
Don't lump me
Yeah.
in with you.
it's like you can't say you like or dislike a thing that is
Yeah.
somewhat controversial because it
Yeah.
puts you in one or two buckets when there's not two buckets. There's
It-
a plethora of buckets that you could be in, but there's only two to people,
Nuance.
This is the problem. It reminds me of identity politics. Basically, you're either this or that, right? It's
Yep.
never
Mhm.
like that. Like if they see my
Never,
review
never
and
like
out
that.
of 10, they'll say this guy's paid by Ubisoft. He loves
Yeah.
Ubisoft,
Right.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. No,
Go
I
no.
know
straight to Square and
Adrian,
just
so
blast you.
when you told me it was 9 out of 10, I was like, what you smoking? And then you gave me a valid reason, and I went, fine, but like,
I'll accept
Yeah, I
it.
mean,
yeah,
look, that's good. That's why I want, people that might be watching us right now, maybe, I don't know, maybe you have this preconceived idea of shadows or games. What I also want you to think about is by doing so much hate, fair criticism is fine. Yeah, I don't mind that. That's exactly what companies should want, at least good companies. And I did work in this industry. Developers and companies look at these. They get them all the time. They're actually interested because you know why? They take pride in their work. And
Yep.
as soon as someone comes up with some, jumps on the bandwagon with some crazy stuff, then it's like imagine working on a game like Shadows for 6 or 5 years, and you put so much passion and effort, and I'll stand by that. There's so much passion and effort put in this game. You can see it, and then you see these, people who just haven't really like played it yet. They are mean just to be mean. That's something that will make anyone, sad, upset about that. And maybe they'll also start to doubt themselves. Maybe they'll think, well, I tried so hard to make this a good game, and these people still hate that. So before you jump on the bandwagon, please also think of who you're doing this to.
Yeah, there
It's
are
it's ne-
individuals behind it.
Yeah, it's never just black and white. There's always layers to it. Like, I'm just looking through like some of my Reddit stuff that I follow, and the one thing that came up that I'm surprised I hadn't talked about yet, Spider-Man PS4 or the Spider-Man like Sony PlayStation franchise. First game, people love. Miles Morales, people love. Second game, there's a huge divide. I'm on the one that doesn't like the game compared to others, but when that game came out, the entire subreddit was just flooded of this game sucks, or it's not like the first one, whatever. And then when everything came out afterwards, where you realize that Sony basically forced them to start cutting things and forced them to push it out for 2023, everything does kind of make sense when you put it like that. It's never just the fact where you think to yourself, oh, Insomniac doesn't care about the fans. They just want to make a bullshit story and give us half of what was in the first game. It's not like that. People obviously want to make things bigger, better, especially with sequels. But the thing is that there are more layers to it as opposed to it just being they wanted to do it this way because of X, Y, and Z. It's not that. They wanted to do other things, but things happened along the way which prevented them from doing that, and as a result now we've got the game that we have. It's never
And you
black
know
and
what,
white.
Sam? That's a great example with Spider-Man 2, because I remember the outrage of people I give it an 8 out of 10. I really liked it. I thought it was a great game. Has problems, of course.
Yeah.
But like the thing is, the outcry that there was no DLC, I still remember that. And you have to think about how Insomniac Games must interpret this. Well, people don't really like Spider-Man 2, so why would we put more resources into making a DLC if you guys complain about it and stuff like that? Because most likely they got rid of the DLC, like you say, because all sorts, maybe the leak was a big problem
I
with
was
that,
about to say, yeah, that probably would have
right?
factored into it.
Yeah, so
Um,
there's a lot of stuff that people don't know what goes behind it.
On top of
I
that as well, sorry, Nicole,
oh
on top of that as well, they never actually promised DLC. They
Yeah, they
never
didn't.
said
mm.
here,
Yeah,
yeah, DLC is gonna come out in about 6 months afterwards.
yeah.
They never said that. Go on, Nicole.
No, I was going to say on the topic of sequels and leaks, I think that we're all going to want to say something about The Last of Us Part 2. That was one of the worst things I've ever
Yeah.
seen come out of the internet. I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to give these people the time of day because they don't deserve attention. But like it was COVID. I think it was 2020. We were just starting out COVID. The leak occurred, so like all the haters are at home, can't go outside, and they're getting extra hateful on the internet. The amount of bullying and horrible things that came out of that leak, the amount of hate that The Last of Us Part 2 got, I've spoken to people who have been like, well, I don't want to play it because like that it was you play as two women. And I was like, what the fuck kind of sexist crap am I hearing there? I
Someone
just want
said
to
that
say,
about Split Fiction, and then Joseph Fares
yeah,
told them to shut the fuck up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like
exactly.
base,
Yeah, I
Different
love him so
base.
much. It pisses me off so much because I've spent my entire, like, not entire, but like most of my gaming life having to play as male leads in games because gaming has always been targeted towards men. And I've just gotten over that. And same with films. I enjoy films and TV. Most of the main characters are usually men. And so occasionally you'll get a woman come in and they'll often get like hit with hate, or people will be like, I'm not playing that, I don't play as a woman. And it's just such bullshit. I don't understand why that exists, why what that mentality is. And so like The Last of Us getting hate, it's getting hate for that, but then it also got hate because like people were coming for the game again, the whole woke bullshit, gonna just leave it at that, pissed me off, shut up. And then their hatred towards Laura Bailey and her unborn child. What the actual fuck is wrong
Yeah.
with people? That they're you can not like a game and have a valid criticism for it, but the amount of criticism that people gave the game that was not valid and telling them to like to I don't even want to repeat what they said, some horrible bloody things, it was just so disgusting. It's like this is a story that's carried on from the first game. It makes sense based on the actions from the end of the first game. This is the characters, Ellie, and Abby are like a reflection of each other. You know, they're both experiencing their own trauma and dealing with it by being quite vengeful, and that's kind of how it's going. And so, like, at no point ever should anybody like make this about like gender, you know, or like I heard some people as well shitting on Abby, being like, "Oh, she's trans because she's so swole," and I'm like, can't women just be swole? You know, it's like people were hating on her for that. I'm like, who cares if she's trans? If she's trans, she's trans. Get over it. But she's not. She's just
Granted, she was very swole.
she was very swole,
She
but
was
she's just a
very
swole woman.
swole.
There are some
very,
very,
very
break
swole.
somebody in half. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was like, hang on a second, have we put the wrong head on the wrong body? Like, what's going on here?
There are some very swole women in the world. You know, not every woman
Yeah.
like sits there and like looks the perfect figure. I wish I looked like the ideal woman, you know, but like, what is that? Grass is always green on the other side and shit. But like, it's that. There's no need to sit there and start having so much hatred towards these little things. And I'm just saying this because I'm like the one girl in here, so I feel like I need to fight the fight. But the amount of shit that as a woman, female gamers and female characters get in gaming fucks me right off. So I am gonna sit in the woke corner and be like, shut the fuck up, leave people alone, people can be what they want to be. Just being a man, being a white man doesn't just, you know, mean that like you're above everything. Shut the fuck up. So
Yeah, but by the way, on
usually all the
that,
white men in here. So
you remember Mass Effect? I remember BioWare did some statistics, some research on how people play Mass Effect, like Mass Effect 1, 2, 3. And I remember a lot of them, I think I might be wrong on this, because I don't know the exact one, but I remember it was very close. Like people, you know, actually play it as
50-50 almost.
yeah,
Yeah.
a female
with shepherds,
shepherd,
Jane and John.
Shep, yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And that's, you know, I want to say good job Mass Effect community, but also I just think that Jennifer Hale has like one of the most tremendous performances in gaming history.
Jennifer
you know,
Hale's
I love
like
Mark Meer, but Jennifer
the
Hale,
shepherd
woo.
for me. Yeah, she
Yeah.
is shepherd because like Mark Mears, like he's good, he's fine. The
I
first
love
game he
him,
took
yeah.
took some
We'll
time,
bang,
but
okay.
he gets there.
We'll
but
bang,
like
okay.
but like Jennifer Hale is incredible, and kind of the stuff
Yeah.
that started happening with her because she became more outspoken and she hasn't really gotten as much work as she used to is really disappointing.
I didn't know about that.
So I want to piggyback off the Last of Us thing because even taking all the like, you know, sexism stuff to the side, because I think Nicole did a beautiful job of laying all that out and
Thank you,
stuff.
I
And
tried.
it's very, you know, obviously I just dismiss all those people because they were never going to like the game anyway.
No, they're awesome.
But the big leak also that happened was what happens to Joel at the very beginning of the game, right? And obviously spoilers if you haven't played it yet, but things happen to Joel that people got really upset about. And I was trying my best to avoid spoilers as much as possible. So all I ever saw about it before I played the game was, you know, a golf club. And I was like, okay, well, I don't really know what that means. So whatever. And I think that also adds to the conversation of just like leaks and when games get leaked early and stuff, because that's a major, huge story moment that affects the entire game and is literally like the core of the entire experience.
Before people even played it, they had their own opinions.
Seeing it before you actually see how it's done in the game, whether you like or dislike Last of Us 2 as a game itself, that's fine. Whatever. Like people have different ways that they interpret the game. You're allowed to dislike Last of Us 2. You're allowed to dislike what happens to Joel in the context. But the problem is that when the leak happens, you see one scene of a character you love, and you see something happen to them that you don't enjoy. You don't have any context surrounding it. You have no idea what happened before. You have no idea what's happening after, anything like that. And you immediately start, you know, coming up with your hard won opinion about how good the game is. And now, you know, you've built a reputation for the game before you actually see what's going on. And I think, like, again, if people don't like Last of Us 2, that's perfectly okay. And if you don't like the way that, you know, things happen with Joel, that's perfectly fine. But if you're a person who immediately started coming up with their opinion based off the leak before the game came out, I think that's ridiculous. I think that's just like a disingenuous behavior, and that's happening with games more and more. We're seeing with, sorry, Insomniac, but Wolverine, we're seeing the Wolverine leaks happen. And
I'm very worried about that.
People are seeing alpha footage, not even alpha footage, like super, you know, unfinished gameplay footage, and immediately assuming everything about the game, thinking they know what it's going to look like, thinking they know it's going to play like it, it's going to be exactly like that. and nothing's going to change, and they act like they've already played it. But that's not how game development works. And even if a game can look like complete and utter garbage a week before it comes out, and then all of a sudden that last week of magic happens and it's a different game. Like, people don't understand how game development works, and B, are way too quick to look at leaks that happen early and come up with an entire opinion off of not playing the game. You have not played the game. You don't even, in Wolverine's case, you don't even know what it actually looks like, because that's not the game. That is their development in progress. That's not what the game looks like yet. You have no idea what it's going to look like. So we're seeing this more and more nowadays, and it's really kind of frustrating to me, because I really don't like when we see such strong opinions get thrown out without any context. And to me, it's like there's no foundation for a discussion either. I can talk with somebody who's played Last of Us 2 and doesn't like it, and have a back and forth about why we do or don't like certain things. I can't have a back and forth about why somebody didn't like what happened with Joel, but they haven't played the game, or they don't like Wolverine, because neither of us have played the game. So there's no discussion, right? It's just, you don't know what the game looks like yet. I don't know what the game looks like yet. This in development footage might not look great to you. It might not look great to me, or maybe it does. I don't know. We haven't played the game yet. It's not what it looks like. So it's like, I don't know. It's tough, and I think it affects a game later on once the sales actually come out, and that cloud hangs over them. And I think it's like I don't know. It's an unfortunate reality of our current gaming discourse space that's really hard to get past.
I think my bottom line coming out of like this conversation and just everything to do with gaming in general is that like games are a form of art, and the people making it are artists, and it's not easy to make a game. We've seen so many development instances where people things are in development for ages, and then at the very end something crazy happens, as you said earlier, and then like everything's great. Halo had like, they basically took the knife and just chopped off half the bloody game and then released that, and it was still a tremendous game with some issues. I think that the bottom line, end of the day, everybody wants to play the games. People don't play games, they play games. People want to play games, play the games. Don't be a hater for no fucking reason. If you have an opinion, share it, do the research. And games are for everyone to enjoy, and it's just a beautiful space that we should all be able to inhabit together. So like, there shouldn't be so much bloody hate online for everyone and towards these different companies. Ubisoft, again, I'm a hater, but I don't actually hate them. I just criticize them sometimes.
Yeah, and actually, if you're being nice and you present your criticism in a nice way, chances are they're more likely to listen to you. And that's actually, viewers are not going to see this, but I just posted in chat from 1 hour ago on the Assassin's Creed subreddit, basically an official post by Ubisoft devs saying, look, we read all these comments and we thank you for the feedback, and it fuels us and so on. So maybe next time, remember that being nice actually will work.
Doesn't cost anything to be nice on the internet.
Not that it doesn't cost anything, exactly, it doesn't cost anything, but you're more likely to be listened to if you are nice.
Yeah.
There's just one thing as well that I just want to ask that's kind of been on my mind for a past couple of minutes. Whenever there's something like huge discourse in a franchise like Assassin's Creed or Halo or whatever, you'll have all these people on YouTube that make videos about it, and then you'll have a lot of other people comment about it. And you'll find that if you look at the Assassin's Creed, if you type in like Assassin's Creed Shadows on YouTube, I bet you'll struggle to find a positive video. And I think the thing is that negativity, for whatever reason, negativity sells really well, especially when there's controversy surrounding it, because people want to be involved in discussion, like with what Ashton said earlier, whether or not that's down to loneliness or feeling like you want to belong in a community. That's fine. Like I've met some really good people in Reddit. I've talked to a lot of people in Reddit. I've talked to a lot of people outside of that. We share the same things. We don't agree all the time. Like with you guys, I don't agree with some of the stuff that you guys say. I don't agree with some of the other stuff that the other Smash Jump guys say as well. Like I know that Ashton likes Last of Us Part 2 and I don't. But the thing is that there's a fine line between discussion and just, again, being a dick.
Being a dick, yeah.
And I think that I think that, especially with social media and everything, I feel like that loads of people can just fall into the latter category where they can just feel like they can just say whatever they want and get away with it. Because technically they can. There's no, there's no social media police out there. There's no citations or lawsuits being handed down just because you said a bad word on the internet. But one thing as well that I just want to kind of ask, do you kind of feel like the negativity in fan bases is also, oh God, how am I gonna say this now? My mind's just gone completely blank. What I'm basically trying to say is companies like Ubisoft, 343, whatever, they do things that fans don't agree with. Like, for example, Assassin's Creed Shadows, they put a black samurai in. People obviously jump on that and say, "Whoa, samurais need to be Japanese, not black." And then, but do you kind of feel like that companies also do have a handle in the negative discussions in a fan base?
You mean like push something to generate that because it's more eyeballs, or what do you mean?
Yeah, so again, I'm struggling to really determine to
Try and
put
get
this
your
forward in
words
words.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
how
Yeah.
do words how do words? But let me just use Halo for example. Okay, so 343 takes over, and instead of making the franchise consistent with what came before, they change everything. Halo 4 comes out, and it's
No
basically
need.
just sci-fi COD.
Yeah.
Because of that, there's a negative stigma in a fan base where people start to lose trust in the developers and start to think, well, they're not, this is just not Halo at all. So then they go into the next Halo game and it's the exact same thing. So what I'm basically trying to say is with the companies that are making these decisions for the franchise, the fans looking at these decisions that they're making and taking this negatively, would you say that it's kind of 50-50 where the fans just say negative stuff for the sake of it and to jump on a bandwagon, and then you've got the company on the other side as well, also doing negative things that affect the franchise? Do you feel like it's both halves of the same machine, or I hope that makes sense?
Well,
Trying to make it make sense.
I think where it comes down to is if you make something that fans don't agree with, they will tell you. And you as a developer know that. You understand that if you try something different, it's going to be hard and it either needs to hit real good or it's going to fail and you're going to learn about it, right? The thing is, a developer is never going to actively try to make something bad. That's just not how the game development works. They're not going to actively try to, if they change something about a franchise that people like, or implement some kind of feature in a game that's different, they're doing so because they think it's going to make the game better, not because they know it's going to make it worse. That doesn't make sense, right?
Or they have
And the
people
fans
higher
will,
above that are making bad decisions.
Exactly.
sure, yeah, and you can have stuff like that too. Like we've seen examples of that as well.
Yeah.
But it's the developers themselves are never the ones who are trying to
No.
actively make something bad. The problem comes in is when I think you can have a little bit of push pull, but predominantly I think the fans are at fault for this, where you it kind of goes full circle with what we've been talking about, where you can have a contingent of fans who let the developers know, hey, we do not like this is bad, please don't do it again, or what have you, or fix it, whatever. And that's perfectly fine, because developers need to know when fans don't like a thing, because they need to know not to do it next time or to improve it, right? It's the loud voices in the back that drown out those people and don't give the developers even a chance or a word in edgewise, right? Like, it's the people who, again, I think a lot of the hate that happens online is from people who don't actually give a shit. Passionate fans who comment about things they don't like about a video game are wanting the developers to see it because they want their voices heard and want things changed. When you get those non-substantive comments that are just insults or people bandwagoning or people picking back up off of other things and not actually having their own opinion and just taking someone else's and then spewing it out there, those are drowning out the real criticism. And I think one problem developers are going to have, and probably currently have, is trying to sift through all of it. Is trying to figure out which criticisms are like real criticisms and which ones are just hate for hate's sake and aren't actually criticism. I think that's really going to be a difficult thing for developers today, is just figuring out what actually is the problem versus what is a fake problem that we can just ignore. Like, that's going to be really difficult, I feel like.
That's it. And I think that I agree with Ashton. I think that as you're speaking, I was just reminded of the PlayStation Live service push, where a lot of fans were like, no, no, no. But That's the other thing. They started a lot of these projects when the live service thing was picking up, and development takes time. And by many years after, once, the fans basically said, they said no to live service, it was kind of too late for them, especially with Concord. Right. So
Yeah.
that's another problem.
Wasn't that like
And we're
in development for 8 years, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Concord.
Yeah, it was.
Long time.
That's the other thing. Yeah, people think that like games just get developed like that. Like Sony
Yeah.
says, we need a live service game, and in a year, oh, here's Concord. That's not how it works. But also, I want to say, just last thing here for me is, I think the thing we need to remember is that fans do have power, and we see that happening more and more. Like, does PlayStation pull back on their live service push if there's no outrage? No, of course not. They just keep pushing it, right? The outrage, kind of signaled to them to pull back. We saw that happen with Xbox a lot. We've seen that
Yeah, I was
happen
gonna say,
numerous
yeah.
times with
Mhm.
Xbox throughout the years. And there's Cyberpunk, same thing. There's countless examples that we can point to nowadays where fan outrage can lead to change, and that's why I think having that discussion is really important. And I think criticizing a game or a developer is really important. It's just, I think it's becoming increasingly difficult to get that message through past all the muck that happens otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm reminded actually, like, because we're mentioning Halo. I came late to the Halo franchise. And interesting to me, I had the opportunity to literally play them one after another within a shorter time span to see how they change. And to me, right now, I'm basically doing Halo Infinite. To me, Halo Infinite feels like a amalgamation of, I think, everything, like open world. You have the return of some actual good gameplay. You have people who ask for more traversal options. But a lot of times, maybe this is ties in with what Ashton said. You have so many voices out there with criticism and stuff like that. That's also gonna probably confuse companies about, oh, are we doing what the fans really want, because there's so much to take in, to the point that you're trying to make a game that pleases too many people that actually may lose identity. And I feel like, for me, maybe I'm wrong in this, but this is how I feel. Halo Infinite to me feels like a game that is trying to please too much
Yeah.
and doesn't have too much of its identity. Like,
Mm-mm.
I don't feel that,
Well,
I, I
you got two different fan bases. You've got the ones that
yeah.
prefer the older games, and you got the
Yeah.
ones that preferred 4 and 5.
I
So
will say this is kind of something I feel about Ubisoft. So circling all the way back around to Assassin's Creed Shadows. So with the way that the Halo franchise works, Halo was fantastic and phenomenal with its level, like constant level based stuff. You go between each level, have a beginning cutscene, end cutscene, and you go as follows. And that's how things were in the 2000s. That's what worked well in the 2000s. As time has gone on, the Halo magic isn't working the same anymore because things have moved on, things have changed. And so I feel like with Halo, I feel like with Assassin's Creed, I feel like there's a lot of outdated things that either need to get updated and they need to kind of do a complete, like, not complete shift, but like some big shifting, or they need to leave these franchises behind and embrace some new stuff inspired by the old stuff. And I think that's my issue with Assassin's Creed constantly carrying on, is that it feels like the OG stuff just not as good, and Halo feels like, well, I mean, they just destroyed it, didn't they? So I think four was okay, but Halo 5 was just hot garbage. I don't know what that was. And Infinite was them like trying to apologize and trying to fix it, and it's like, it's too late, guys. You've lost me already. I still played it all, but I'm still a bit. Ugh. So I just think that there's so many issues there. But
this is kind of what I mean, though, because if that didn't happen in the first place, where 343 just decided, oh well, people really like what Bungie did already, let's just take none of that and just make our own thing. I'm fine with people putting like different spins on things. Like, fair enough, if you want to change different things, that's cool. But if you look at like the behind the scenes stuff, the developers were literally saying, we're changing everything. We're doing this and we're doing that. We're making this, we're making that. And you're just like,
making it our own. It's like, make it your own. Just
wait,
don't
hang
destroy
on.
the old stuff.
Hang on. Just because you slap Master Chief on the fucking box art
There
doesn't
it
mean that
is.
it's Halo 4. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Like, it's different.
They would have had such a much better time if they just transferred over to a different team, different people. Just
Yeah.
do ODST again, but 343 style.
Yeah.
Should
But
wrap it up.
at the same time, at the same time, you do have these fans who will literally just pick apart the littlest, tiniest things. Again, going back to Shadows, I saw this thing on Twitter where someone put the entirety of the credits. I think it's the
Oh, I
credits
saw
like
this too.
2 hours long.
Oh, I watched that. I watched
Every
it. I mean, I
single
skipped
person
through to
is
make
like,
sure.
"This is awful. Assassin's Creed is done." Blah blah blah. And I'm just thinking to
The
myself, like,
credits.
it's the fucking yeah, exactly. It's the credits. Like, what do you want?
Who
You
cares?
don't want everybody who worked on the game to be included in the credits, you arse-hats.
I'm pretty sure if you look
Honestly.
in the corner, you'll see it says circle to skip. You
Yeah.
know, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure
Yeah,
if
every
you
game does
look
that.
there,
You know,
Yeah.
what's funny?
That's a
Actually,
fake issue that I call.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, actually about the credits, because I was curious. I have two friends that I worked with and that are now at Ubisoft, and I was curious, did they work in this? So I start the credits, and they keep on going, keep on going. So, you know what? I'm just gonna
You know what?
skip
I'll just
and
pass.
just ask them straight up, man. Did you
Yeah.
Just
work
call them
on this
later
or
and
not?
just ask
That's
them.
funny. That's
I'm looking
funny.
forward to
They
playing
did.
AC Shadows, rolling credits, and then sitting there using the music for the credits as my calming music while I read my book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
2
music
hours.
is-
You got a lot of book reading to do.
Yeah, that's a whole 100 pages for me. Woo woo. So
Yeah,
So-
just one last thing I'll say. Sorry, before we kind of like, I'm assuming everyone
move on to the
wants to, like,
post show
wrap
if we have
this up,
time for
yeah.
it.
So
10-minute post
I
show.
think ultimately there are two different kinds of fans, right? There are the fans that want to make the franchise better. They
Yeah.
want to see it blossom.
I like to think
right?
that's us, guys.
Yeah,
So, fingers
I
crossed.
love Halo. Like I will buy. Like, you can't see my shelf, but it's literally like half, like three
Yeah.
quarters of it is full of Halo shit right now.
Same. Yeah.
I love the franchise to death. Love it so much, and I want it to be better. And that's where I fall into it. Then you've
Mm-hmm.
got the other group, which is just picking everything apart and saying Halo is dead, Assassin's Creed is dead, Uncharted is dead,
They're not dead, they
all,
just need to pivot.
everything's dead. You know, just because of one tiny little thing, like, oh, the assault rifle doesn't have the 32 counter, Halo is dead. You know, like, no, it's not dead. It's just they didn't want to add it on. Yeah, it sucks, but grow up and touch
I'm
something.
ready. I've got some nitpicky things that I want to talk about in the post show, so remind me to talk about them in a minute.
Yeah,
Okay.
I want to talk more about Halo because I have thoughts about Halo too.
Yeah,
like
I've got
Halo.
some thoughts
I
on
don't,
Halo 4.
I don't get branded as as a Halo person, but I've only not played the new stuff. I've played all the way through Reach,
I'm
so
the Halo guy.
like he's the Halo guy. But I
I'm
have
the
thoughts
Halo
about
guy.
Hey,
Halo.
I want to
But
pull out my Halo guy.
I will go find it for the post show. But I want to talk more about that. I want to talk about stuff like critics versus fans is like a theme that we've been dealing with for a long time and stuff like that. But that's all going to have to wait for the post show. For now, this has been the Smash Jump podcast. We've had a good time talking about all this kind of stuff here. And if you guys enjoyed that and you want to see the post shows, we talk about more in this line of conversation and talk more about Halo, then make sure you go over to our Patreon where you can support independent media and get this post show. And you can get this whole episode. You can get any episode of the Smash Jump podcast a day early. Does anybody want to plug anything before we leave?
I will. My YouTube channel, I've actually got a video that is going to be released hopefully this week, where we go over the Game Awards orchestra performances and rank all of them.
Why was I not like invited to this just to listen to you record it? I would have enjoyed that.
You could have eaten something while you listened to me go.
Yeah,
fuck.
I would have loved it.
No, but I've got that in the works. I managed to hopefully finish it off by the end of this week. But that's on Game Opinion, GAMER-PINION. Come check it out when it's released. They've got other stuff in the works as well.
Perfect. I don't think anybody else has anything plugged. I'm not plugging my YouTube channel until I post a video, so I'm gonna hold myself to that. But
I'll just say, if I can, Ashton, on Smash Jump, we've been talking about the reviews, and they are there to be found. We will probably link some in the description as well, so feel free to, to have a look at them all.
Yep, smashjump.com, and then the AC Shadows review will be in the description below. May even also try to let Gabe know to put the Split Fiction review in the description as well, because why not? We talked about that for a decent amount of time. But for now, that has been the Smash Jump podcast, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.